What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another month of the OCG recap. So, of course, Splight still dominating as always. I believe on average it had like 52% representation over the entire month. That's pretty bad. You'll see it comes up in one of the lists that we have here today that cherries is now a thing, both main decked and side decked. So, yeah. Very healthy format developing the OCG. Effectively, it's 51 to 2% Splight. We do then see a small sliver of Tearalaments, which is the other deck we're going to be covering on today's video. Tearalaments seems to be sitting around that 10 to 15% from week to week. Solid representation for a deck that's coming also out of the same deck as same set of Splight. So I personally will be picking up a case of Power of the Elements. I'd maybe recommend you do the same because we're going to be looking at, just decks coming out of there. Something that I did notice, but I couldn't actually find, was I saw a list pop up that was just Meta Breaker. And I was like, interesting. Dug around, couldn't find it. Apologies for that. I wanted to bring you guys that list. But essentially what we're going to be doing today, we're going to look at what the current iterations of Splight and Tearalaments look like. And then after that, we're going to be covering the Cybos deck. Mathmech, that's it. We've got a Mathmech deck for you. But before we do get started on this one, as always, please do remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get into this OCG recap. So starting us off, we do have a Splight list. This is probably as optimized as Splight can get. There's not really anything in this list that they would probably take to cut. In the TCG, you'd probably just cut the 3 Max C and then put in a third Prosp and then maybe another Power 1-off. Oh, I guess you lose the Called By as well. There's a lot of space to refine this down to 40 cards in the TCG, but this will probably be what our lists look like when we start off. The list, of course, does start off with the standard 3 Ash Blossom with 1 DD Crow, 3 Deep Sea Diva with 1 Dupe Frog, 3 copies of Effect Veiler with 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, 3 copies of Maxi with 1 Nibiru, 1 Rodent Totem, and then the 3 Swap Frog finish off our non-Splight monster package. Then for our Splight monster package, we have 3 copies of Splight Blue, 1 copy of Splight Carrot, then 3 copies of Jet, and 1 copy of Red. Then for our spell lineup, we have the 2 Called By and the 1 Crossout, 2 copies of Prosperity. I'll switch this over to OCG so you can see the limits and regulations. Then we have 1 copy of Splight Smashes with 3 copies of Splight Starter, and then 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence coming after that. Then for the extra deck, we have the 1 copy of Cat Shark along with our Zeus package with the Zeus and the Downed, 2 copies of Gigantic Splight, 1 copy of Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. I said that wrong? Don't care. Then we have 1 copy of Skycav. Of course, this is what feeds your Zeus package, and then the 1 copy of Totally Awesome after that. Then for our links, we've got 1 Hulk, 1 Heater, 1 IP, 1 Unicorn, 1 Almirage to make the Heater, and then 2 copies of Splight Elf after that. Then for the side deck, we have 1 copy of DD Crow, 1 Pankratops, 1 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, 1 Nibiru, 1 Duster, 3 Lightning Storm, 1 Monster Reborn, 2 Talents, 1 Reboot, and 3 Judgment. Honestly, very surprised I didn't see a Cherries in here. Okay, next off we have Danger Tearalaments. So again, the fusion deck that's coming out of the format, we're going to see this mixed in with Splight. Danger, of course, feeds through everything. And yeah, again, just probably a very refined list. You may be able to trim a little bit of fat here and there if you're trying to get it down to 40, but 42 cards is a respectable limit. So going through the main deck for this one, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom with 2 DD Crow, 2 copies of Mothman with 3 Nessie. Of course, we want to be triggering our Mothman off, which is why we're playing this line. Then we have the 1 Ghost Spell, 1 copy of Ghost Ogre, and 1 copy of Ghost Reaper. We're playing a full Ghost line here, with 3 copies of Maxi, 1 Shadol Beast, and 2 Squamata after that. For our Tearalaments package, I guess Supreme Seamare kind of counts as a Tearalaments. It's just kind of, good. Sensei Aquas. Then we have 3 copies of, I should really learn how to say these, Huffinus. Then we have 2 copies of Miru, 3 copies of Rhino Heart, and then 3 copies of Shailene. And then we have, for our spell lineup, 2 copies of not a Ghost Spell, 2 copies of Called By the Grave, 1 Instant Fusion, and then 3 copies of the non-Tearalaments named Tearalaments Field Spell, Perlino. And then we have 1 Terraforming, of course, to search that. Then for our traps, we have our 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 1 copy of Metanose, and then 1 copy of Solak. Then for our extra deck, we have 2 copies of Winder, 1 copy of Mud Dragon, 2 copies of Dragostapelia, 1 copy of Kaleido Heart, and then 2 copies of Kit Callus. For our Xyz, we have the 1 copy of Bahamut Shark, the Cherries target in Gigantic Splight, 1 copy of Baguska, 1 copy of Redoer, another Cherries target in Totally Awesome. However, these are all water, so you can make a Bahamut Shark. And then that's good times. Then for our links, we play the 1 Codebreaker and the 1 Dark Charmer. Then for our side deck, we have the 1 Pancratops, 2 copies of Gamma Seal, 1 Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, 1 Nibiru, 2 Sphere Mode, 2 copies of Dark Ruler, 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Deck Devi, and then 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Okay, and lastly, we are bringing you the Mathmech deck that topped in the OCG over the past few weeks. Surprisingly, there's a lot of just random Mathmech decks floating around with the new Mathmech Circular. It does become like a bit more consistent. So that is something you might want to consider if you are very interested in Mathmex but haven't picked up your deck yet. Given that Alan Bershon and stuff's been reprinted now, it's like there's no real excuse to not have Mathmech. Have it, be prepared so that when we do get Circular, you won't be left chasing cardboard. But the list for this one is 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Effect Veiler, 1 Ghost Spell, and 1 Ghost Mourner, 1 Ghost Ogre following that after that. This is an even fuller. This is an even fuller Ghost package because we don't have the cherries in here. Then for our Mathmex, we've got 2 copies of Addition, 3 copies of Circular, 3 copies of Diameter, 1 copy of Multiplication, 1 copy of Nambler, the Nambler member, of course, creeping in here. And then we've got 2 copies of Sigma and 2 copies of Subtraction. Then 3 copies of Maxi, of course, rounding out our monster lineup, like always. Then for our spells, we've got 2 copies of Call by the Grave, 1 copy of Crossout Designator, 3 Synapse Mining, 2 Forbidden Droplets, and 1 Mathmech Equation. And then for our traps, we've got 3 copies of Impermanence, 1 copy of Induction, 1 Superfactorial, and 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness, because of course the OCG still has this. Then we get into our extra decks. So we've got the 1 copy of Final Sigma, with the 2 copies of Alan Bershon and the 1 copy of Laplation. Again, these are all like super cheap now, so just pick these guys up. Pick up the whole deck. Just make sure you have it if you even remotely want to consider playing it. Then for our links, we've got 1 Access Code, 1 copy of Appaloosa, 1 Wicked, 1 Heat Soul, 1 IP, 1 Linguribo, 1 Devotee with the Disciple package, 1 Splash Mage, 1 Transcode, and 1 Update Jammer to push for game. Probably the cost of this entire deck will be your Access Code Talker. I think at this point, Access Code is the value of essentially this entire deck. So if you're picking it up, that will probably be the only thing that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Even then, if you hold off on the Access Code until the set drops, or until you get the new card, you might pick it up cheaper, because who knows. If Forbidden Droplets just saw a sneaky reprint, we might see a sneaky reprint for Access Code somewhere. Then we have this side deck. So of course this one is 1 copy of DD Crow, 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird with 2 copies of Nibiru, 1 copy of Retaliating Sea with 2 Dark Ruler No More, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster with 2 Lightning Storm, 1 copy of Twin Twisters, 2 Dimensional Barrier, and the 1 Red Reboot. But that does wrap us up here for this month's OCG recap. So as always, if you do have any recommendations for decks that you want me to find, do make sure to comment that down below. I will try my best to find them. As always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.